Jay-Z is setting Diddy up.
Jay's definitely.
Jay helped you?
Yeah.
How did you
As a competitor.
explain that?
Yeah, because he never was someone that you communicate with that you're like friends with the person. But I always respected him because he was never an actual competitor in actual fact. He was someone who was a competitor through perception.
How close was Diddy and Jay-Z? They was close enough that they wasn't playing basketball, they wasn't playing baseball, they wasn't playing football, and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z.
And B was, one time she jumped off of the ledge. She ain't running over because she thought me and Jay had issues, and I was like, did she really just jump down and run over here like that?
Beyonce jumped off a ledge.
Yeah, what happened? It was in the Cosmopolitan, huh?
She really a superhero.
She jumped down and no, she was like, this what? Like that Bonnie and Clyde for real? You try this or what, boy? I'm here.
Word.
Down like at me. I said,
Was Solange with her?
She looked at me like that.
What started as a short, confusing video clip quickly turned into something much bigger than anyone expected. At first, the moment didn't even make sense. It was unclear, hard to understand, but people online kept replaying it again and again. They slowed it down. They zoomed in. They argued about what it really showed. And when people don't fully understand something, imagination fills the gap. That confusion opened the door to speculation. Old stories that were never finished came back. Rumors that had been buried suddenly resurfaced. People began connecting past gossip with recent controversies, stitching them together into one growing narrative. At the center of this conversation stood 50 Cent. For years, 50 Cent has been known as someone who openly challenges what he believes are protected circles inside the entertainment industry. He doesn't whisper. He doesn't hint quietly. When he speaks loudly, and people listen. In the past, his criticism was mostly aimed at Diddy. But recently, his words suggested something bigger. According to hints he shared himself, the conversation was no longer about just one person. Now, it seemed to stretch toward other powerful names. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey. Three of the most influential figures in modern entertainment. These are names that have always been discussed publicly, but rarely questioned directly in a serious way. That's what made this moment feel different. The shift began when 50 Cent suggested that there was more material connected to the same world shown in the Diddy documentary. He implied that what people had already seen was only the beginning, not the full picture. One short phrase he posted online spread fast, very fast. People immediately began asking questions. Who was that message really meant for? Why were certain names coming up now? Why did this happen so soon after the documentary was released? Many pointed to long-standing talk about a tight inner circle in the entertainment industry. Powerful people who crossed paths again and again at elite events, business meetings, and private gatherings. Old photos, partnerships, and shared appearances began circulating again as people searched for patterns. Still, it's important to say this clearly. Hints are not proof. While 50 Cent suggested broader connections were being examined, no verified evidence has been released, and no official actions have been announced. Right now, the story lives in speculation, driven by timing, association, and public curiosity. Not confirmed facts. Then attention shifted to something else. How Diddy treated his own lawyer. According to reports, Diddy secretly recorded private conversations with his defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo. Mark believed they were speaking honestly, person to person, as they prepared for a serious legal battle. What Mark didn't know was that the conversation was being recorded. On tape, Diddy can be heard criticizing the case, saying things were falling apart. What made people angry wasn't just the recording. It was that Mark Agnifilo actually won the case for Diddy using smart legal strategy. Despite all the media noise, the jury found Diddy not guilty on the most serious charges. Yet afterward, Diddy secretly embarrassed the very man who saved him. That felt deeply unfair to many people watching. Yes, there was also video of Diddy assaulting Cassie, something widely condemned. But people argued that one wrong does not erase another. Both things deserved attention. What made this even more shocking was that Mark Agnifilo had openly explained his strategy months before the trial. He said prosecutors couldn't find financial crimes, so they tried to destroy Diddy's image instead. And that argument worked. Even something as strange as the baby oil became part of the defense. While people mocked it online, Agnifilo used it in court to show how ridiculous the case had become, and the jury laughed. That laugh mattered. All of this gave more weight to 50 Cent's voice. People remembered that 50 Cent had warned for years that powerful figures protect each other behind the scenes. His documentary on Diddy reached a global audience and proved he was willing to expose uncomfortable truths. So when he hinted that others might be next, the reaction was instant. To understand why Jay-Z's name came up, you have to look at history. 50 Cent and Jay-Z go back to the early 2000s. Their relationship was competitive from the start. Industry insiders say Jay-Z discouraged others from working with 50 during his rise. Their paths split in very different ways. Jay-Z built power quietly, through business, partnerships, and influence. 50 Cent built power loudly, through television, entrepreneurship, and public confrontation. Two different kinds of power. That contrast is why people pay attention when 50 speaks. After the Diddy documentary exploded on Netflix, many wondered who would be next. Jay-Z's name kept coming up, partly because of his close relationship with Diddy. At one point, Diddy even called Jay-Z his brother. There is no solid proof of wrongdoing, but speculation grows when powerful people stay silent. Nicki Minaj has openly accused Jay-Z of manipulation and control through Roc Nation. Others point to how awards, media treatment, and influence seem to move in certain directions. People noticed how Jay-Z received special treatment from media outlets. Red carpets rolled out, questions softened, doors opened. Then something small but important happened. 50 Cent posted a joking image of Jay-Z on Instagram. Someone commented, "He's next, isn't he?" 50 Cent liked the comment. That one click sent shockwaves. The person who made the comment later confirmed it was real, not photoshopped. That detail mattered because it showed intent, not accident. Even the timing raised eyebrows. The Diddy documentary dropped on December 2. Jay-Z's birthday is December 4. To many people, that felt like a message. As years passed, Jay-Z continued building relationships with other powerful figures, including Oprah Winfrey. Beyonce was interviewed and praised by Oprah many times. They appeared at each other's events, supported each other publicly. That overlap is why Oprah's name entered the conversation. 50 Cent has criticized Oprah before, saying she applies scrutiny unevenly. He has supported other entertainers, like Monique, Dave Chappelle, Taraji P. Henson, and Ludacris, who felt misrepresented or sidelined after interacting with her influence. Some accusations were serious, some were exaggerated, some were debunked. But discussion never disappeared. In an industry built on relationships, shared spaces alone can raise questions. Now, the biggest question is this: what does 50 Cent actually have? He hasn't said yet, but people believe it could involve recordings, documents, or first-hand accounts from inside the same circles shown in the Diddy documentary. Importantly, the focus is not accusations against Jay-Z or Beyonce directly. It's about awareness. Who knew what? Who stayed silent? Who protected whom? In today's world, silence can be as loud as action. That's why this moment feels different. 50 Cent doesn't depend on industry approval. His success doesn't require permission. He uses public records, interviews, filings, and receipts. When he speaks, he usually follows through. That reputation is why people are paying attention. Right now, nothing has been proven. No accusations have been confirmed, but the attention is locked in. And when attention locks in at this level, power shifts. One thing is clear: 50 Cent is not done. And when the next material comes out, whether it reveals silence, awareness, or hidden connections, the scrutiny will be intense. The stakes have never been higher. It always starts small. A clip, a moment, something unclear that no one can fully explain. At first, most people scroll past it. It looks harmless, confusing, maybe even boring. But then someone replays it. Another person pauses it. Someone else zooms in. And suddenly, that short moment becomes the center of attention. That's exactly how this story began. A confusing clip surfaced online, and no one could agree on what it really showed. There was no clear explanation, no confirmed context, just fragments. And when fragments appear in a world obsessed with answers, people start filling in the blanks themselves. That uncertainty became fuel. Social media did what it always does. It slowed the footage down. It analyzed facial expressions. It replayed the audio. It pulled old interviews, old photos, old rumors. The clip itself didn't give answers, but it opened a door. And once that door opened, a flood came through. Old stories resurfaced. Unfinished rumors came back to life. Conversations that had once been whispered suddenly became loud again. People started connecting dots that had never been officially connected before. At the center of this growing storm stood one name that always brings attention: 50 Cent. For years, 50 Cent has had a reputation that makes people uncomfortable. He doesn't move quietly. He doesn't protect feelings. And he doesn't play by the unspoken rules of the entertainment industry. When he believes something is wrong, he says it out loud. That's why people listen when he speaks. In the past, his criticism focused heavily on Diddy. He questioned power. He questioned behavior. He questioned how certain people seemed untouchable. When his documentary on Diddy was released, many thought that was the end of it. They were wrong. Because after the documentary aired, 50 Cent began dropping hints. Not long speeches, not long explanations, just short comments, small phrases, subtle signals. And those signals made people nervous. He suggested that what the public had seen was not the whole story, that more material existed, that the documentary was only the beginning, and most importantly, that the conversation was no longer about just one man. Suddenly, other names started appearing in online discussions. Big names: Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey. These weren't random celebrities. These were some of the most powerful figures in entertainment history. People who rarely face direct criticism. People whose influence stretches across music, media, business, and culture. For years, their names had floated around discussions quietly. But now, they were being mentioned together, openly. Why now? That was the question everyone kept asking. The timing didn't feel accidental. The Diddy documentary had just been released. Public attention was high. People were already questioning how power operates behind the scenes. And then, 50 Cent hinted that the story wasn't finished. One short phrase he shared online spread faster than anyone expected. It jumped from platform to platform. It was reposted, debated, and dissected. People tried to read between the lines. Who was he talking about? Why didn't he name names? What did he know? Speculation exploded. Fans started pulling up old photos of celebrities together, shared appearances, business partnerships, award show moments, charity events, private parties. People searched for patterns not because of proof, but because of proximity. Still, there was one important truth that couldn't be ignored. Speculation is not confirmation. No evidence had been released. No accusations were officially made. No legal actions were announced. Everything lived in the gray area between curiosity and suspicion. But gray areas make people uncomfortable. Then another shocking detail reignited the fire. Footage emerged showing that Diddy had secretly recorded private conversations with his own lawyer, Mark Agnifilo. These were not public interviews. These were supposed to be protected legal discussions. Mark believed he was speaking freely. He believed he was advising his client honestly. What he didn't know was that he was being recorded. When people learned this, anger followed. Not just because of the recording, but because Mark Agnifilo had actually won Diddy's case. Despite intense media coverage and public pressure, the jury found Diddy not guilty on the most serious charges. That victory wasn't luck. It was strategy. And yet, the man who saved him was secretly recorded and later embarrassed. To many people watching, that felt like betrayal. This moment changed how people viewed everything else. If something like that could happen behind closed doors, what else might be hidden? That question brought attention back to 50 Cent. People remembered that he had warned for years about protected circles, about powerful people shielding each other, about influence being used to control narratives. His documentary had already proven that he was willing to expose uncomfortable truths. So when he hinted that more was coming, people didn't laugh it off. They leaned in. And when Jay-Z's name entered the conversation, it didn't come out of nowhere. 50 Cent and Jay-Z have a long history. Their relationship has never been warm. From the early 2000s, their paths clashed. Industry insiders spoke about competition, tension, and quiet power plays. They represent two different kinds of influence. Jay-Z builds power silently, through business deals, partnerships, and elite connections. 50 Cent builds power loudly, through independence, confrontation, and public exposure. That difference matters. Because when someone like 50 Cent, who has nothing to lose, hints that powerful people should pay attention, the industry listens, even if it says nothing. Then something small happened. 50 Cent posted an image of Jay-Z on social media. Someone commented, "He's next, isn't he?" 50 Cent liked the comment. One click. That's all it took. Suddenly, speculation turned into obsession. Was that a joke, a hint, a warning? People searched for meaning, because 50 Cent doesn't usually move without intention. Even the timing felt symbolic. The documentary dropped on December 2. Jay-Z's birthday is December 4. To many, that felt deliberate. From there, Oprah's name surfaced again, not because of direct accusations, but because of influence. Over the years, she has been criticized by several entertainers who felt misrepresented, dismissed, or sidelined. 50 Cent has publicly supported those criticisms. And in an industry built on relationships, repeated overlap draws attention. Right now, nothing has been proven. But attention has shifted. And once attention shifts, power starts to shake. This is where the story truly begins. To understand why this moment feels different, you have to understand how power works in the entertainment industry. Power doesn't always look loud. Most of the time, it looks quiet. It looks like access, invitations, opportunities, silence. It looks like who gets protected and who gets ignored. For decades, the industry has operated through relationships. The same names appear at the same events. The same people sit on the same boards. The same faces appear behind the scenes of major decisions. That doesn't mean wrongdoing, but it does mean influence. Jay-Z and Diddy shared a long professional history. They worked in the same spaces, attended the same gatherings, and moved within the same elite circles. Beyonce appeared at many of those events as well. Oprah publicly praised the Carters and supported their growth. These overlaps don't prove anything, but they explain why their names surface together. When 50 Cent suggested that more material existed, people didn't immediately think about crimes. They thought about awareness. Who knew what? Who stayed silent? Who chose not to speak up? In today's world, silence can be interpreted as complicity, especially when power is involved. That's why speculation spread so fast. Ray J later claimed that some figures connected to Diddy were feeling uneasy. He suggested that people were distancing themselves quietly as public attention increased. Old photos began disappearing. Appearances slowed down. Public behavior shifted. These quiet changes didn't calm the conversation. They fueled it. Because when powerful people move silently, people notice. The focus remained clear. No formal allegations against Jay-Z or Beyoncé existed. But proximity alone was enough to draw attention in an industry under scrutiny. At the same time, Oprah's past resurfaced again. Several entertainers have publicly spoken about feeling dismissed or misrepresented after interacting with her platform. Monique claimed her career suffered. Dave Chappelle said his struggles were framed incorrectly. Taraji P. Henson spoke about unequal pay. Some claims were disputed, some were defended, but together they formed a pattern that people couldn't ignore. 50 Cent has long argued that accountability in entertainment is selective. That belief explains why he keeps pushing. Unlike others, 50 Cent doesn't rely on approval. His business success doesn't depend on industry favors. That independence gives him freedom and makes him dangerous to established systems. He doesn't tease stories for attention. When he says he has material, history shows he usually does. That's why legal teams reportedly started revisiting old cases. Public relations strategies shifted quietly. Appearances were reconsidered, not because of proof, but because of risk. Uncertainty creates fear. The Diddy documentary didn't just expose behavior. It exposed how systems respond when power is threatened. It showed how loyalty can break, how silence can speak, how protection can disappear. That ripple effect reached far beyond one person. Now, the industry stands at a crossroads. If future material shows that influential figures were aware of troubling behavior and chose silence, public reaction could be intense. Not because of what they did, but because of what they didn't do. 50 Cent understands that. He knows that exposing context is more powerful than making accusations. Once people see how influence operates, trust begins to collapse. That's why this moment matters. This isn't about destroying careers. It's about questioning systems. It's about accountability. As of now, the public waits. Waiting to see what 50 Cent releases next. Waiting to see who responds. Waiting to see who stays silent. One thing is certain. The spotlight is no longer fixed on one name. It's moving. As this story reaches its current stopping point, one thing becomes clear. This moment is bigger than any single person. It is bigger than one documentary, one clip, or one comment on social media. What we are witnessing is a shift in how people are looking at power, influence, and silence inside the entertainment industry. For years, the public accepted a simple idea that success at the highest level meant excellence alone, that awards were earned fairly, that access was granted equally, that silence meant innocence. But now, more people are beginning to ask harder questions. Not accusations. Questions. And questions are powerful. They don't require proof to exist. They require curiosity. They require awareness. And once those questions are asked openly, they don't disappear easily. 50 Cent didn't need to name names to change the conversation. He didn't need to release new footage or publish documents. All he did was suggest that the story wasn't finished. That suggestion alone was enough to make people look closer at what they thought they already understood. That's because this isn't just about what may have happened behind closed doors. It's about how influence works when no one is watching. It's about who gets protected, who gets ignored, and who is expected to stay quiet for the sake of comfort. Right now, there are no confirmed allegations against Jay-Z or Beyoncé. There is no evidence proving wrongdoing. That must be said clearly. But what does exist is a growing awareness that proximity to power carries responsibility. And responsibility doesn't disappear just because no laws were broken. In many ways, this moment mirrors what we've seen before in other industries. For years, uncomfortable behavior was dismissed as rumor. Concerns were brushed aside as jealousy. Silence was treated as maturity. Then, suddenly, the truth came out, not all at once, but piece by piece. What people are reacting to now is not guilt, it's uncertainty. Uncertainty makes powerful people uncomfortable. It forces them to ask questions they never had to answer before. It forces industries to confront how they've operated for decades. It forces the public to reconsider who they trust and why. This is why the reaction to 50 Cent's warning has been so intense. Because history shows that when systems are questioned, they either evolve or collapse. And no system built on silence survives forever. The entertainment industry has always thrived on image, carefully controlled narratives, perfect appearances, smiling photos. But behind every polished image is a network of relationships, and those relationships determine who gets opportunities and who disappears. That's what people are questioning now. Not whether certain figures committed crimes, but whether they knew more than they admitted. Whether silence was chosen over truth. Whether influence was used to protect reputations instead of people. Those are uncomfortable questions, but necessary ones. And this is where the audience matters most. Because change doesn't come from documentaries alone. It doesn't come from celebrities speaking out. It comes from viewers refusing to look away, from people paying attention, from conversations happening openly instead of in whispers. Every comment, every discussion, every shared thought, it all matters. This moment is not about picking sides. It's about refusing to be passive. It's about understanding that power exists whether we acknowledge it or not, and that accountability only exists when people demand it. If future material is released, it may confirm some fears. It may challenge assumptions. Or it may simply reveal how deep influence runs behind the scenes. Whatever it shows, it will force a conversation that can no longer be avoided. And if nothing is released, then the conversation still mattered. Because awareness itself changes behavior. Already, we've seen subtle shifts, public appearances adjusted, language softened, silence maintained where there once would have been confidence. These small changes suggest one thing: people are paying attention. And when powerful people realize they're being watched, behavior changes. That's why this story doesn't end here. It continues with you. As a viewer, as a listener, as someone who refuses to accept easy answers. So here's the real question. Not about celebrities, not about fame, not about power, but about us. What do we do when the truth feels uncomfortable? Do we ignore it because it challenges what we enjoy? Do we defend people simply because we admire their work? Or do we allow space for accountability without jumping to conclusions? Because maturity isn't blind loyalty. Maturity is the ability to hold admiration and accountability at the same time. You can respect talent while questioning systems. You can enjoy art while demanding ethics. You can stay fair without staying silent. That balance is what this moment demands. If you've watched this far, you're already part of the conversation. You didn't click away when things got uncomfortable. You didn't dismiss the story as gossip. You stayed to understand the bigger picture. That matters. So now it's your turn. Share your thoughts in the comments, not to attack, not to accuse, but to discuss. Do you believe influence in the industry has gone unchecked for too long? Do you think silence from powerful figures carries responsibility? Or do you believe this is simply speculation driven by social media? There's no single right answer, but there is value in honest conversation. If you want to stay informed as this story develops, if new material is released, if responses come out, if the industry shifts again, make sure you're subscribed. Not for drama, but for clarity. Not for rumors, but for context. This channel exists to ask questions that others avoid, to connect dots without jumping to conclusions, to bring light where shadows exist. And as long as people keep watching, listening, and thinking critically, those questions won't disappear. Because history shows us one thing: power is strongest in silence, and accountability begins the moment people stop being quiet. Stay aware, stay curious, and stay part of the conversation. We'll see you in the next one.